Hello. I'm sorry to interrupt your nap over there. We have the Rainbow Connection next up. We have the wonderful Eric Brayman is here. He's going to share with you his poetry that he's channeled from the great beyond. Please come on stage, Eric. Give it up for Eric.
Hello. Is this the right one? You got the other one? Hello? Check. What about this one? Is
Nope, there it is. Now you're on. You're on now.
Oh, yeah, there I am. I'm here. I have arrived. Thank you all for being here. It is so lovely to be here. Like they said, my name is Eric Brayman. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a queer poet based out of Springfield, Oregon. I was raised in Michigan, where a tenacity for niceties have followed me throughout my life, unfortunately. And also where my love for nature was originally found. I have some poems that are selected here, and I might keep going, depending. I think there's some other voices that hopefully will make their way up here. But a lot of the poetry that I have is kind of inspired by looking back at my time in Michigan. As a part of this poetry sharing space that is here, intentionally highlighting queer voices, me being one of them, I tried to select a smattering of poetry that kind of reflected on my experience coming out throughout my life. So this first one is called Learning to Drive, and actually all three of these poems that I'll start with are found in a one-person show that I wrote called To Myself, to You, to Myself. It is far too much of a mouthful, it'll probably get renamed soon. And I premiered that this year at the Oregon Fringe Festival down in Ashland. It was a wonderful time, it's a story of coming out. So all of these three poems find their way in that greater piece. It's about an hour and a half long. So, starting off with Learning to Drive. Let's go for it. I used to mix CDs with flavors ranging from cayenne to vanilla. They filled a book in my sidekick footwell. Sharpie-etched surfaces read a message to readers. Beware he, she who listens. I never understood how to follow heartache with hard rock, but with water-filled eyes I cast a net, pulling sonnet and virus from the dark web. I learned to drive by sliding cars into ditches. I used AC in winter because it was easier than taking off my coat. In summer, I lost sunglasses in glove compartments and let gummies melt across my dashboard. My car collected my mistakes. I had a CD I only played when I drove alone. I don't remember what songs were in the mix, but I recall the shame of them. 17 tracks for 17 years. I didn't like myself, but I pretended to. I learned to drive by running stop signs and T-boning fragile elders in larger cars, by smashing face first into airbags and crying on curbsides. I hated myself and didn't know how to keep my eyes on the road while changing channels. One time I drank bad beer in the basement of someone's house I barely knew. He played a song on my secret CD. I drove my car into a traffic sign and learned I hated myself but should improve my driving. I was 17. And I pretended with CDs and footwells and eyes barely on the road. I learned to drive by plowing through snowdrifts and hitting the brakes too hard. I just remembered Norah Jones was on my secret CD. I pretended I didn't hate myself. Over time, I got better at driving. So that's a little poem, thank you, from the high school days, which none of us probably look back at our high school days. The theory of it being the best days of our lives is the biggest lie we've ever been told. That and perfection. Those are the two biggest lies you've ever been told in your life. Perfection is a fallacy. It doesn't exist. And in high school, I was very closeted. I was raised very Christian, conservative household, a very loving household, but albeit very rejecting of anything that was queer identity. And so that story is kind of that process of distraction, of constantly trying to silence this piece of me that was always bubbling up and wanting to be heard, wanting to be seen. And I spent a long time in my life pushing that part of me down. And in college, I moved away, as far away as I could possibly get while staying in the state of Michigan, and spent time learning to love myself again, and learning to appreciate this part of me that I had been denying for so many years. And I'm proud to say I am out, I am queer, I'm proud, and I have a very loving family now. It took a lot of work and a lot of terrible years. Yes, thank you. Applaud for the families that come around. There was a lot of hurt that came in our family telling me to reject this part of myself, but we've done so much healing together to really resolve that. And that story had me sliding into a ditch. One of the ditches I slid into was this road that went down to my house. It was the final drive that I took every single day on my way home, and it was cattails on both sides. We lived on the other side of a swamp. And the cattails, for a long time, especially after I came out but I wasn't out at home, was this terrible place that I had to visit every time I went home. Because it was a place that I took all the pieces of me that I had learned to love at college and had to set them roadside until I left again and could pick them back up. And I pretended to be someone I never was when I was home for those years. So those cattails are the representative in so many ways. And for so many years when I saw cattails, I just hated them. I hated them. I remember being here in Oregon and I was at a park and I saw cattails and I was like, why am I suddenly so upset? Like, I feel icky looking at this beautiful vista, but goddamn those cattails. And it took my getting married to my husband. Yay, huzzah, love him, Chris. Bless you, I love you, wherever you are, which is Lithuania right now. Anyway, so my husband, Chris, at our wedding, there was a lot of healing that happened. That was a big healing moment. And I remember the trip after our wedding, I took the drive through the cattails, and it suddenly felt good. And so this is a poem about going home to the cattails. It's called Homecoming. Drive north, just a little further than you think you should go until the split of I-75 guides you to a less traveled road. Turn right off the highway. There where the light blinks yellow and rarely holds red. Past railroad track with signs begging you to yield. For locals, this message is a suggestion. Proceed at your own pace. Just past the yellow and blue house, you'll find them. There along the edge of Parish Road, these dense auburn fluff-topped yellow-green-necked companions. I carry in my suitcase all the pieces of me I used to drop roadside. They hold in their waters anxiety, sweats, and desperate tears, high-pitched laughter and inconsolable fears. Everything that I dropped throughout those years, they've held for me. Transformed them into wildflowers, cradled them in mallards' nests, matted them in mink's soft fur to tell me those pieces you thought you had to strip from sight are the bits we hold most dear. I drive with straighter spine through humidity-filled air as the wind whispers through the reeds. Welcome home. You've never looked more like yourself. Thank you. And I think that final line is a really important one. For anyone out there, do I have some queer folks? Can I get some shimmies if you feel like letting yourself be known? Yeah, I think that statement, you've never looked more like yourself. I know that is something I've heard others say about me, about themselves. And I know that there is a moment in everyone's life where you look in the mirror and you're like, oh my God, I've never looked like myself. My whole life, I've been this other person. And that moment when I felt that, it breaks something open in you. It's an aquifer that just waters all the burns throughout life. And I hope that everyone here, queer or not, finds those moments where you really feel like you see yourself in a way that you never got to before. So thank you. Are there any other poets that have showed up, or should I just keep going? Keep going? Okay, awesome. I'm going. We're going. So I came out as gay. That was kind of the identity that I initially came out as. And when I moved to Oregon, and I worked at the University of Oregon for a couple of years, the darn youths, gosh dang you youths, came up and started sharing this great word that I'd never heard before, genderqueer. Of course, genderqueer. So genderqueer is basically identifying as somewhere between the two genders or somewhere beyond the gender binary altogether. Throughout my entire life, I have never truly been able to ever meet the expectations anyone's ever had of me. I'm sure every queer person is probably out there being like, yeah, snaps. We have never met the expectations people have of me. The masculine body that I carry around in me is not the masculine person that exists inside of me. And the moment that I learned about this idea of genderqueer, I was like, oh my God, that's the thing. That's what's felt. Yes, I love my husband. Yes, I'm accepted by my family. Yeah, I'm gay, cool. But there's still this weird thing, this expectation. And it hit me. That's when it hit me. I was like, that's what it is. I'm in this middle of the spectrum. And while I may have this body that I carry around in me, it does not mean it's the limitations of what my spirit and capacity is. So I have a poem that I wrote kind of as I was discovering this part of myself. A lot of people think this is a morbid poem. I don't think this is morbid at all. I actually think it's one of my favorite poems I've written, and my husband has multiple times been like, is that going to be read at your funeral? And I was like, probably. Yeah, I think it is. That's the one. So I hope you enjoy it as well. It's called Bury Me in Cherry Blossoms. When I die, bury me in cherry blossoms. Preserve me in petunias. Place irises upon my eyes and crown me in carnations. Let this harsh exterior give way to milkweed and magnolia. I could never carry the kindness of camas kissing the river's edge. I never found the freedom to sprout full bloom like fuchsia or geranium, so let my burial be a rainbow of red roses and blue violets, yellow yarrow and white wisteria. Let vines of morning glory wrap me, cocoon me, and compost me until I'm soil and clay. Let these atoms I hold transform and add texture to every wildflower in this field, until my whole spectrum is revealed, embedded in the faces of old friends. Trillium and tiger lily, larkspur and lavender, blackberry and begonia, every petal of the alphabet. Beauty and bounty, wild and wonder, full and free. Bury me in cherry blossoms. Remember me as colorful as spring. So those are the ones that I had prepared. Can I get a time check from the folks on the side? / if they're, again, I'm just double checking so I don't accidentally step over a poet that might be ready to jump up here. Are we done? Keep going? All right. Well, you're going to watch me fumble now because now I am officially filling time, but we're here together, so let's party. I'm going to go ahead and switch to a slightly, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and switch to a slightly different style of performance. Like I said at the beginning of this, I just did a show called To Myself, To You, To Myself, and I premiered it at the Oregon Fringe Festival. So I'm going to do an excerpt from that show for y'all. So this is my first coming out story. Here we go. The first time I came out was in first grade. I was riding the bus ride home after school, and I looked across the aisle and saw this girl in the most beautiful, the most stunning, the most spectacular hot pink windbreaker jacket. Now, like many people of a certain generation, the first grade bus ride home was the first time in my life where I got to interact with other kids the same age as me without immediate adult intervention and oversight. I mean, sure, there was the bus driver who was standing in the front keeping an eye on us, or sitting in the front keeping an eye on us, but she was well occupied with making sure the bus didn't veer off the road. So there in the seats and across the aisles, we were, many of us, doing for the first time this skill called conversation. So when I saw that hot pink windbreaker jacket, I got bald fists, wide-eyed, full body shake, and screamed, "It's so pretty!" She replied, "It's pink. Boys aren't supposed to like the color pink." Well, I was a very talkative child. I was also a very stubborn child as a first grader. So I replied and said, "Well, I like pink. No, I love pink. Pink is my favorite color." There it was. My first coming out. I, Eric Brayman, according to all official paperwork, first grade boy, came out as a lover of pink. It should come as no surprise that I was pretty well laughed at and ridiculed by the kids on the bus that day. As a matter of fact, I was pretty well laughed at and ridiculed by the kids on the bus almost every day after that day. But no matter what, every time someone got on that bus wearing that beautiful, hot pink, almost acidic pink of the early 90s, I'd get the bald fist, wide-eyed, full-body shake reaction of, "It's so pretty!" Now, over time, actually, some of the girls on the bus started to wear pink intentionally. And I know this because when they got on the bus, they would intentionally kind of wave their arm gently in my direction or swing their bag in a way that made me have to see the hot pink that they were wearing. And eventually, I stopped being made fun of. I stopped being known as the trademark boy who likes pink, but simply as Eric, That overexcited new kid who's the second to last stop on the route. Yeah, he likes pink. He's a little weird. It's funny how kids are able to accept difference when there's nobody there to tell them they shouldn't. Now, one day, actually, one of the girls got on the bus and gifted me a pink eraser. It was in the shape of a heart and was kind of that terrible plasticky kind of eraser. It didn't erase very well. It didn't erase at all, actually. It had sparkles inside of it. She gave it to me and she said, "I don't want this. I think you'll like it." I did. And I remember walking home from the bus that day and holding it in the palm of my hand and appreciating its pastel pink in the bright sunlight. I think it was sunny that day. Nah, that's how I choose to remember it anyway. I held that eraser sacred that year. I don't think I necessarily hid it from anyone, but I certainly kept it in a very special part of my backpack and never used it. I love that eraser. And it was the kind of thing I think anyone ever did for me that year. Thank you.
Okay. All right, give it up for Eric. So part of this is an open forum for anyone who'd like to come and speak or share, who is in the Rainbow Collective, BIPOC, or LGBTQ community. Is there anyone here who's dying to get up here and share?
Do it. I see him.
Anybody? Anybody? Or should we bring Eric back? All right. Going once, going twice. Bring him back. Eric! Welcome back, Eric, for your encore.
Okay, you all are really going to watch me grasp for things. But I'm going to find things. Okay, do you want to hear a love poem? We talked about, sad things. So I talked about my husband. This isn't a poem necessarily about my husband, but he is a featured character in it. So, yeah, I'll just go ahead and jump on into it. It's called An Inseparable Knot. I think love tastes like 5th grade. Like balancing on the edge of my best friend's kitchen sink, sneaking sips of whiskey from his stepdad's pantry. We winced and grimaced, smiled broad and weird, and said, "It's good!" Too ashamed to admit that our first taste of liquor was anything but tasty. Perhaps love tastes like going back to his bedroom to play Crash Bandicoot with eyes a little glossier and cheeks a little rosier. Cheeks rosy. Like the first time I held onto his waist when I rode behind him on the Sea-Doo across the waves of Saginaw Bay, my stomach doing flips before we even hit the surf, unsure of how close to sit or how to grasp his life jacket without being too obvious, wishing we could ride that Sea-Doo forever, with him in front of me and my arms around him. I think love tastes like high school, when the only drink we could get for the party was cheap whiskey with no chaser. We passed the bottle back and forth as he said, "This is the worst shit I've ever tasted." I just laughed, took another swig, gagged, and let the heat of the poison slide down my spine. Maybe love tastes like stumbling toward the campfire with eyes crossed and the sky above us spinning. The world always spinned when he was near because he looked into my eyes when I told him stories and he laughed at my jokes from a place that was deep in his chest, like maybe from his heart, and I knew we'd never kiss, but I thought of him each time I met someone else's lips, no matter who she was or how long she called me her boyfriend. I think love tastes like college. Like junior year, when he turned 21 and I bought him a shot of Jameson. I didn't like whiskey really, but I agreed to take it with him because he said he loved it, because he said it was his favorite. Our glasses clinked, we tapped the bar and shot it back, gasping for air or at least a sip of Diet Coke. I wonder if love tastes like the neon lights and rippling bass of the dance floor when I held him close as our favorite diva sang and fast forward and time stretched until it nearly stopped because I held him near and I did not care who saw us kiss because he tasted like whiskey and sex. I think love tastes like the other night, when he picked up our crystal wedding decanter and poured me a glass of that expensive stuff. The whiskey I got him for Christmas. We sat on the couch, my hand on his knee and head on his shoulder as we watched Game of Thrones and HBO reruns. pretty sure love tastes like the dogs running into the living room, tails wagging in the air, and him pausing the show, setting aside his drink and tossing around toys, orchestrating a chaotic dance of growls and yips until they're too tired to play, and we all curl up in bed. A shot of whiskey in our bellies, and our bodies wrapped in an inseparable knot. A love poem there for you. And I think that this is kind of an important love poem. For me, it feels important because I've heard a lot of love poetry, often from a very straight perspective. And straight love begins in kindergarten, right? Like, there is the boy-girl pair that just happens. And everyone's saying the boys will be boys, and their boys are chasing the girls, which is a terrible trope. Let's all break that. Let's make a vow today. Can everyone please raise their hand and say, let's break that trope. Hold boys responsible for the things that boys should not be doing, and let women have a voice. So that's the thing. But also that the love story begins early, and it's repetitive and it's constant. I didn't get to have that love story, and when things like, I don't know if anyone Love Simon came out, and I was like suddenly re-traumatized in all the ways I didn't get to have high school love. Like, I know, I get it. Thank you, Love Simon. But I think that this poem for me was a healing process, because it was reminding me, no, you did have love stories. You had those stories. You experienced that feeling. It's just that the final product looked different than for others. And I'm not going to say that straight folks are always having these beautiful, prolific, loving stories. I know that that's not the case. But I just wanted to share that was something that felt important to me. Okay. Do you have one? Do you want to see? Yes, get up here, please. Yes. Thank you. Can we give her what's your name? Sonia. Can we give a big, giant round of applause for Sonia?
I got inspired by your poetry. I'm Sonia. I'm from the Bay Area, and I've been challenging myself to read a little bit more of my poems. So here we go. Safe space is the warm embrace of your body, holding you, holding me too. I'm leaning in, giving ground for you to place your delicate breast in the holding of my anchored chest. Heartbeat from the feet of Creator lingers the silent making of peace as your lips kiss my lips, kissing each other. Wonder explodes in the gentlest of ways.
Thank you. Oh my God, what beautiful alliterations and sounds in there. Oh, that was tasty. That was so tasty. Anybody else have final moments of inspiration to just even speak up and just like preach something for a sec? Take us to church or some non-religious form of it. Anyone? Do you have something? If you would like to, I gently welcome you to the stage if you would like to join. Okay, take a second. Baby, are you ready? Okay, take some deep breaths. I can tell you, being up here, and you can speak to it too, this is an incredibly supportive audience. They are here to welcome and support and love you for all that you bring to them. So you take a second, take a deep breath, and we will check back in, and I'll do another thing to fill some space. And maybe this will give you a little bit of courage to pop up here. This is a poem that I wrote for some dear friends who were struggling. It's called Hope, and it's actually inspired by another poet, one of my poet idols, Mia Vance. If anybody hears that name, she has a book out called Instead of Butterflies. Go buy it now. It is just stunning. So she wrote a poem about the word hope, and so I decided to write a poem in response for her. It is there, this thing, this push to look deep into the dark, to find color without light. It's blue, I think. Like the midnight sky in July when the moon casts crescent in the irises of passerbys. It's violet, that's it. Like lilac in late spring, a sprig of periwinkle wonder placed gently in your palm. It's green. It must be. Like old oak coated in moss, filled with story and lore, in each burst of bright lichen, it's white. Ah, yes. Almost blinding when you see it. It's yellow and orange and red. I know it burns until we believe it will never leave. It's here. Always here. And it's whatever color we need it to be. It won't leave until we ask it to. It's so sit. and take in its splendor until it settles in our bones, holds us up to Tuesday and through Thursday, and places us gently in today, pointed purposefully toward tomorrow. It's you, here, today, looking faithfully for your future. The rose of your cheek and gold of your heart is the color of hope. So, may I gently invite you up? I will even hold the stage with you if you'd like. Would that be helpful? Sometimes the stage can be intimidating. Can we step in front of the speakers? Will it give feedback to us?
Probably good feedback.
Get feedback? Okay. Feel ready? Can we give some some encouragement? Would that be helpful? Okay. Okay, ready? Oh, I see yes, see them getting up. Yay! Welcome. Would you like me to stay up with you? Would that feel helpful? Okay, take it. It's yours.
Hi, I'm Liliana. I did a poetry slam at the end of the school year, and I was really nervous the whole time. So, but I knew everyone there, so it was kind of weird. I have a couple of poems. I don't know.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. I guess I'll just do.
We support you!
Okay. I might only have one of them. Oh wait, no, I have both. Never mind. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a tree. A gorgeous, magnificent maple tree. She stood in a forest among many other trees, but she was the only maple. Everyone else were tall, strong, big, amazing cedars. But they all had their own friends. She made friends with a few of them, but they never seemed to care for her. She did everything she could to show them she was just as good as them, but they didn't listen. Shaking. Maybe they tried to listen, but she never felt heard, understood, wanted. The tourists who visited the forest only cared about the cedars. They walked right by her, unaware of the gifts she had to give, the stories she had to tell, the love she had to share, the sweet syrup that lay within her bark. Every now and then someone would take her picture or admire her leaves, but the cedars always had more. Over time, she slowly stopped trying to show the tourists how amazing she was, to talk to the others, because she didn't feel amazing. She didn't feel loved. She didn't feel accepted, wanted, important. And she lived like this for months, unaware of how pretty she was, how extravagant her stories were, how her love was bigger than anything the cedars would have given. She didn't see her perfect. She didn't know that she was enough. One day, one of her leaves blew off and flew through the wind. It was the prettiest thing she had ever seen. Its shape was magnificent. Its color was terrific. And she felt horrible. How could she have gone for so long, ashamed of herself, thinking she was ugly, that she was nothing, that she would never be like the cedars, when all along she had the most bright, vibrant, incredible leaves in the whole forest. It was true. She would never be like the cedars, but they would never be like her either. She had her own unique beauty. It didn't look like the others, but that didn't matter. She didn't need to be like the cedars to feel like something. She realized she was enough, that even though others might not see it, she was beautiful, she was gorgeous, she was magnificent, and she knew that. She knew it was the truth. She knew that she shined brighter than any tree had before. She knew that she was a maple, and she was proud to be different. She was proud to be herself.
Yeah, please do. Yes.
I don't want to hog the stage.
No, you're not. This is so beautiful.
Okay. Okay, I'll do that one. This one's kind of long.
Go ahead, you got time.
Dear life, thank you for everything. Thank you for letting me live in this amazing, beautiful world, for giving me the unreturnable gift of the planet. Thank you for the ocean, all the beach days and seaside picnics, the evenings spent by the crashing waves with nothing but smiles, the vacations on the coast with kite flying on the soft marshmallow-like sand, the laughter and happiness felt when I'm near the endless bowl of water. Thank you for the food, the delicious buffet of millions of tastes you offer, the pasta, who I can't resist, the soup that helps a cold, the pizza to cater parties, the delectable sweets that melt in your mouth, making you want to savor every second. Thank you for the sunrises, whose presence I watched outside my window, the pinks and oranges too breathtaking to describe, a world of color and hope unfolding before me, a new beginning, with every sunrise, a new day, another chance. Thank you for the music, the songs that give me a way to express who I am, ones that know me better than I know myself, the songs I lip sync to, jumping around my room with joy, the records I save up for and can't wait to arrive in the mail, the cassette tapes whose retro sound make me feel like I'm using a time machine, the songs that bring my family together, the ones me and Mom would play in the car on our road trips, the concerts that blare in my ears where I lose myself and feel the music, the gift of learning to play the violin, the orchestra pieces that take me months to perfect, that make my fingers callous with every press on the string. Thank you for summer, the feeling of freedom that only comes once a year, the hot sun that makes me want to spend every hour outside, to run under the endless blue sky without turning back, to roll down a big hill with grass so green as if smiling at you. Time with my family in Minnesota, the barbecues at friends' houses, playing in the backyard until the sun goes down. The camping trips in the middle of nowhere, the stench of bark mixed with campfire burning in your nose, smell of nature everywhere. The beautiful stars only fully visible without the street lights, the mornings reading my book while breakfast is being cooked sitting in a camp chair. Thank you for Christmas, the pine tree covered with lights that glow throughout the room, the sugar cookies topped with too much frosting and far too many sprinkles, the Christmas classics we watch every year, the festive feeling when driving through the city, listening to Christmas songs on the radio, the happiness and excitement felt on the 25th morning. Thank you for Disneyland, the first time I set foot in the park 2 Februaries ago, feeling so nervous to go on my first roller coaster, screaming and closing my eyes, the next day shooting my hands in the air. Getting to be a kid again, just fun with no pressures, nothing to worry about at all, my true happiest place on earth. Thank you for love, the ability to fall for someone, to know what it's like to love an individual so deeply you would be willing to spend every moment with them, to feel love, unconditional love, support without reason, ears without hesitation, arms open to catch you when you fall, to know that you don't even have to worry because they'll always be there. And thank you for pain. Pain so deep it's almost as if you can physically feel it, like a sharp knife shoved deep into the bottom of your heart. The late nights I stayed up, unable to fall asleep because of sadness and hurt and fear. The pain that's taught me how to be strong. Pain is rough, it is strong, it is unpredictable, it is real. It can cause you to lose yourself or lead you to find yourself. Because even though the pain hurts, pain is part of being alive. Being able to feel emotions so incredibly deeply is a gift itself. It's not always pretty or simple, but don't turn it away. Take the pain, feel it, live it. Don't shove it down and hide it. Feel the pain. Thank you for everything. Thank you for letting me live in this amazing, beautiful world, for giving me the unreturnable gift of the planet. Thank you for everything.
Can I get your name one more time? Liliana. Can we give a huge round of applause for Liliana? Yes. Liliana, I have a wish for you to take with you from today. Remember that moment where you got up and you made the step up here. It is so scary, and you took that step, and that is inside of you. And every time you do, it'll get easier. That was beautiful, and you have a powerful voice, and I hope you continue to use it. It is just stunning. And thank you. Oh my gosh, so many gifts of life that I'm going to be reflecting on thanks to your poetry. I'm going to go and give us a closing unless there's anyone else who feels inspired. Yes, 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 I've seen you nodding this whole time. Come on up. Can I get, what's your name? Co. Can we give a huge round of applause for Co? Yes.
Hi. What you were saying was really resonant with me in the way of not having that pure high school love, and as a queer person almost feeling like a resentment about that for a really long time, and feeling like I had something taken from me without even realizing it until years later. So instead of sitting in that resentment, I've been trying to veer more into appreciating the little moments, small ones, when that love is apparent and abundant, like it is in all those John Hughes movies or whatever. So this is just a moment, and it's quite short, but it meant a lot to me. I like the way that her shoulder creaks under the weight of my head. Like my childhood bedroom door, it's cozy and warm and worn. Usually I have a hard time sharing a bed. Too many people through the years proved undeserved. But not this time, and not with her hair. Not with her deep breaths and mine in pair. Not with her shoulders and not with her sheets. No second guessing while we count the sheep. Only her peace, only her smell, only her shoulder and my head as we dwell. That's it. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Co. Thank you so much. Okay, anybody else have anything that has, sometimes it's a walk, sometimes it's a trickle effect that leads into a beautiful river. Anyone? Okay. I just want to mention something that has kind of come up in this, is these shared pieces that inspired in me this piece. I also coordinate a storytelling stage that will be happening at the Shea Rays stage every single day at 1:30. Please stop by and check it out. But one of the things, I'm a huge proponent of storytelling, because we always think that our stories are our own. The second you speak your story, you realize it is much more universal than we ever could have imagined. Every single one of us hold infinite truths within us, and they overlap with every other person in this audience at some point in that story. So share your story. If there's anything I can ask you to do after this, share your story, tell your story, speak it into a mic or speak it into a conversation, and make those connections with folks who you might not have expected. So thank you, Co. It was so lovely to connect. So I'll go ahead and finish, leave us with this final poem. It's a shorter poem as well. It's a piece that I wrote for, oh no, actually I might not be able to. My phone's not loading it all the way. Okay, give me 1 second. Can everyone go murmur, 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 murmur? Ooh, I know what we can do while I'm looking for this. Turn to the person next to you and just share a story, something that came up in you, something you're thinking of right now. Turn to a friend. Start telling, connecting. Okay, I can't look up that poem. I hope that there are some conversations that were started and should continue, and please don't let me be a disruption to the continued connections. Instead, I will read you maybe a funnier poem to end us. I was going to try and have like a nice inspirational moment, but alas, you know how fair internet works. This is called Upon Losing My Wedding Ring in Switzerland. It's with the cows now, he said, somehow never losing his smirk. I touched the indent of the muscle on my left ring finger and struggled to fake a smile. It's with the cows now, I say back to myself, like a mantra learned in a self-help book. I almost feel the creases of engravings holding 8 years of our life together, vintage florals and recycled silver. It's with the cows now, I whisper on the train as the mountains disappear in the mist. I imagine a wildflower growing through the center, filling it with honeybees and butterflies, and while I'm not settled, I'm held. It's with the cows now, nesting in jasmine and buttercup, shaded by alpenrose and iris. It's somewhere up there, a piece of me forever in the mountains, a part of me always in sanctuary. There's that little piece. I did lose my wedding ring. This is a replacement wedding ring. It is somewhere in Switzerland. The cows probably are nomming on it somewhere down there. Well, this was a part of the Rainbow Village and Rainbow Connection showcase. I know that we had beautiful voices that were shared here. But if anyone here is a part of the LGBTQIA+ community or identifies as a BIPOC individual, there are 2 new sanctuary spaces that are open this year for the first time over in Xanadu. Head on over there. There is going to be a little ally kind of safekeeper to make sure that the folks who are entering the space are those that the space is intended for. But if you find yourself getting overwhelmed with the often immensely whiteness that fair can be and the often immensely heterosexual and cisness that fair can be, or if you're starting to feel triggered in any way by things that you're experiencing or seeing, this is a space for you to go and be with people who understand. There are people who are staffing it to be there to be supportive. And like I said, there's people making sure that those who are entering it are truly those who are intended for that space. So please take advantage of that. I'll be volunteering tomorrow as one of the allies to kind of support on the outside space. So stop by and see me tomorrow at the end of the day. If you enjoyed hearing this many rambling pieces that I brought to you today, please follow me. My name is Eric Brayman, E-R-I-C, and the last name is spelled like bra man, but it's pronounced Brayman. I have a website, ericbrayman.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm Eric William Bram. Please follow me, follow along on the things that I do. I have publications every once in a while, performances and things like that, and I'd love to see you again. So thank you for coming out, thank you for your queer courage, and may you always be yourself. Yay.
Hey, thank you so much, Eric. Let's hear it for Eric one more time. And every brave soul who got up here. That was amazing.